Given the devastating blow coronavirus has dealt businesses in the past 5 weeks, business owners in the country have demanded 1-year tax break, among others, from the government to enable them to recover. This was contained in the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry's COVID-19 Impact Report Survey. According to the document made available to TVC News, signed by the Director General, Dr. Muda Yusuf, apart from the 1-year tax relief, the businesses also asked for the suspension of the implementation of the new value-added tax regime. They want to put that on hold till the end of the year. They also demanded incentives for healthcare and pharmaceutical companies, airlines, manufacturers, agro-processors, small and medium enterprises, and the hospitality sector. Dr. Muda Yusuf said the report was in line with the LCCI's mandate of ensuring an enabling environment for the general business community and to determine the impact of the lockdown on businesses, using Lagos State as a case study. According to the report, this modest estimation indicates that about 2.7 billion naira was lost in revenue by sampled 153 businesses to the lockdown. This translates to trillions of naira losses for thousands of businesses operating in Lagos. It further indicates that during the lockdown, clients prioritized food and essential items ahead of relatively less important services, and corporate clients ran skeletal operations, which depressed demand for non-essential services. I have the Director General of Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf. He signed this document made available to TVC News and also other media houses. Thank you very much, Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's joining us via Skype from Lagos Island for more on this. Thank you for your time, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Doc, let's start with the choice of Lagos. Being the center of excellence, I know, and that's why we had to base this report on Lagos. Now, tell us, looking at Lagos, our population and the findings, give us a breakdown or the basics of this document.
Well, Lagos is the commercial nerve center of the country. And when you have developments like this that is impacting on the economy, the impact is felt more in a location like Lagos. And we felt that it was necessary for us to have an evidence-based position on the impact of this lockdown and the pandemic on businesses, and what the businesses also expect, and the kind of actions that businesses are likely to take. So this is what informed the report, and the outcome is what we have shown. It is not unexpected, because quite a number of businesses are facing very, very serious challenges as we speak. Many of them are struggling to still remain afloat. Some of them have suspended businesses. Many of them can no longer pay salaries. And even for those that have been, allowed to continue to do businesses partially, because the totality of the economy is yet to gain momentum, even those that are doing some little businesses are also not finding it easy. So from a systemic point of view, the economy is still heavily challenged on all accounts. It's affecting jobs, it's affecting revenue. Invariably, it will also affect government revenue. So the economy is in a very dire straits as we speak.
Let's now look at the sectors looked at, talking about the business sectors looked at. We have food processing, agriculture, financial services, professional services, ICT, export, trade, freight, forwarding. Now, in all of this, which would we say is affected the most, adversely affected, if we use that word?
Well, those that are most affected, as the economy is now, we still have some sectors that are still completely under lockdown. So for those sectors, nothing exactly is happening, at least for the past 2 months. If we take the entertainment industry, for instance, all the businesses around entertainment are still on complete lockdown. You are talking about catering services. You are talking about the musical business, the comedians, the rental businesses, those who are into baking of cakes, those who are into decoration, those who are into rental businesses, event centers, those who are into Ashwebi business, those who are the tailors that sew the clothes, and so on and so forth. It's a very long chain. So all those businesses are still completely under lockdown. So, and many of them are also within the range of small and medium enterprises. Some of them were also sampled. Then we have the hospitality industry. Some operators depend on the hospitality industry for their survival and business. The hospitality industry is also completely under lockdown, and that has been so for the past 2 months. I'm talking here about things like the hotels, restaurants, and all of them. They are all completely under lockdown. And we have quite a lot of micro enterprises, small businesses that are dependent directly and indirectly on these hotels and other operators in the restaurant business. So to the extent that all these businesses are still not functioning, it has a ripple effect on quite a number of other small businesses. So those sectors are also heavily affected. Then we have the aviation sector, for instance. The aviation industry is also under complete lockdown. And when we look at the impact, we are not just looking at just the aircraft or airlines themselves. We are looking at a whole lot of other small businesses that also depend on the aviation sector. Take, for instance, those who are in the travel agency business. They have been completely out of business for the past 2 months. And there is no hope as to when they will get back on stream. So there is a variability in terms of the impact. It varies from sector to sector. Some sectors are already beginning to at least to come back partially alive. Sectors like the ICT, for instance, they are still doing some good business because of the demand for data and airtime and all of that. The e-commerce business, those who are in essential goods like food items and all of that. But even for those ones, to the extent that the totality of the economy is still not as vibrant as it is, the demand for their services have also been affected, even though they are in the essential services sector. So on the whole, the economy is still struggling, even for those we consider essential, because the demand is still not there, because other sectors of the economy are yet to come alive. So it's a very big issue for businesses. That is why we said that there's a need for the government to put in some palliatives. A bit of palliatives have been put in place, but we feel that a lot more can be done through looking at the tax waivers, looking at interest concession, looking at moratorium for loans, particularly commercial loans, commercial bank credit. So we expect to see a lot more around all of this to give businesses a bit more room. And we expect the government to relax some of this lockdown on the hospitality industry, on the restaurants, on the aviation sector, on the entertainment industry. There should be a gradual easing of the lockdown. We can have specific protocols, COVID-19 protocols that are specific to all these sectors, so that gradually they can come alive while we still deal with the issue of the pandemic.
Indeed, so DG, before we move critically into what needs to be done, I want us to quickly touch on, because I have the report right in front of me here, let's look at revenue loss. Now, I'm looking at the graph here that depicts that below 500,000, we have about 64% of businesses affected. Then for between 500,000 and 1 million, 16%, 2 million, 4 million, 7%, and about 5 million, we have 12%. Now, let's look at this revenue loss before we now start looking at what should be done. How did we come about some of these figures?
Well, just as you said in your intro, this was the outcome of a survey that was done among businesses and across sectors. The respondents were asked to indicate how much of losses they have suffered,
Okay.
as a result of the lockdown over the period of almost 2 months. So what they indicated in their responses to us in the questionnaire is what we have, compiled in our report.
Great.
This is just a sample. And of course, if you want to now extrapolate into the larger society, you need to now multiply this, do some estimation, look at the size of businesses in Nigeria and in Lagos. And you see that we are talking of much larger figures. So these losses are losses that arose from each of the businesses that are surveyed. And most of them were actually in the small and medium enterprise category.
All right, DG. Yesterday, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, was speaking his normal briefing, the 12th briefing, I guess, and he talked about meeting with the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, other private sector players, talking about how they could ease the lockdown and how it will not affect businesses, what government should do. I'm sure you must be part of that meeting, or you have a representative at that meeting. What is really happening when it comes to you synergizing, or your chamber synergizing with government to make sure that we have a smooth sail wading through all of this storm?
Yes, we are engaging with the government. Only recently, we had a meeting. I was part of a meeting of the private sector stakeholders with the state governor. And of course, we highlighted the challenges of this pandemic. We reviewed the challenges around compliance with the COVID-19 protocols. We also highlighted the need for a gradual easing. We reiterated the need for a balance between life and livelihood. The need to ensure that we bring the economy gradually into life, and to also simultaneously strengthen our containment strategies for the coronavirus. So we believe that it has to be a concurrent engagement, it has to be a concurrent battle to ensure the health of the citizens and also the health of the economy. We believe that these things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. We believe that it's a battle that can be fought simultaneously. And as the business organizations, we gave the governor the assurance that, at least on our part, we make sure that there is proper compliance with all the protocols, and all the areas that are still under lockdown were enjoined to come up with proposals as to how they will comply with the protocols that will be in alignment or in tandem with government's commitment to the containment of the coronavirus. So it's a partnership thing, and we are very confident that we can achieve a lot through this partnership. The big issue that we have is mainly in the informal sector area, particularly the public transportation and the markets. These are the areas that have been presenting very serious challenges as far as issues of compliance and enforcement is concerned.
Let's round this off with recommendations now, DG. Recommendations now, DG.
Well, the recommendations are first that for companies or sectors that are completely down, we need to get government to support them. Some people have argued that government doesn't have much revenue and all of that, but this is a period of crisis. I think government needs to reorder its priorities to ensure that some critical sectors of the economy do not go down. So that is why we were talking about waivers or concessions in the area of tax. We are talking about concessions in the area of interest payment, and moratorium for loans, particularly from the commercial banks. We are aware that the central bank has done a lot in terms of giving concessions, giving moratorium and all of that, but we haven't seen much from the commercial banks. And it is with the commercial banks that majority of businesses have exposure in terms of facilities. So we expect the commercial banks to also put something on the table. We expect some concessions in the area of tariff, import duty, and the rest. We expect considerations also from the regulatory agencies. The other time I listened to the vice president with NAFDAC giving some concessions to more businesses. but we need to see a lot more of that across all the regulatory agencies. We need to support the airlines and the aviation sector, because even as their aircrafts are grounded, they are incurring a lot of costs. Some of these costs are even in foreign exchange, because some of these things are on lease. So they need to be assisted to come back to life. We also want to see a lot more in the area of tariff, just as I said, tax concession, interest payment, and even access to foreign exchange. I know that because of these challenges, of course, there will be some macroeconomic issues that will arise from the fall in oil price and all of that. But we need to reconfigure the foreign exchange market properly so that we don't also create a liquidity crisis. So that for business that needs foreign exchange, they should be able to get it. So these are some of the things that we like the government to look at. And at the ports, we expect concessions from the shipping companies, from the terminal operators. Some of them have given concessions to importers. Not all of them have done so. So these are the areas, and these are some of the recommendations that we have made to government, so that businesses can come back alive, so that jobs can be created, so that people can earn income, and government can also get some revenue. And the beauty of all of this is also the fact that as more businesses come alive, the social environment will become better. There will be less security problems and all of that. So it's a win-win for everybody. It's not just for business. It's also for the society. It's also for the government and for the citizens.
Dr. Muda Yusuf, Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much for talking to us. It's good to see you this Monday.
Very much.